Welcome, folks, to the District Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Chad McLaughlin of District Home Loans. This week, we have a special guest, Richard Howe. Richard, thanks for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me today, Chad.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I wanted to get to talking with you about because you have a pretty good experience with real estate and you've been around for quite a while. So what I thought we'd do today would be to talk about your experience,
okay,
right, and how you got into real estate and kind of a little bit about yourself, but then talk a little bit about what you do, which is, I don't want to say home inspection because you're not a home inspector.
I like to refer myself as a property consultant.
Property consultant.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Absolutely.
Property consulting. So what I want to do today is talk a little bit about your history.
Okay.
And how you got into real estate and how you got to where you are today, and then talk about property consulting.
All right. Sounds great.
Does that sound good?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
All right. Okay.
All
Great.
right.
Okay. So, well, let's start with how did you even get into real estate? Like, where did that start with you?
All right. Well, how much of the background do you want?
I mean, we can get back into did you go to school for it?
Well, yes, I did go to school for it.
Okay.
That is a requirement in 38 of the 50 states. To be licensed, I should say, on that. So, and schooling is just part of the process of getting your license, of course, on that. But, if we want to go back a little bit further, a little bit about me on there. I did get out of high school, did a little stint in the Air Force. One term. I was an electronics, communications, and navigation systems specialist. Worked on airplanes. It's the short version. Of that. Got out, stayed in the electronics industry for a few years, worked for here in Montgomery County, an international communications company, government contract type development. We got tired of the I-270 commute after a number of years, so hung up that hat. And one thing that ties in with the current home inspection, I've always loved hospitality. I call myself an amateur foodie. So really like the restaurant industry. Even when I was in the military, I had a part-time job in a restaurant. On there. So a lot of hospitality experience. I was bouncing around with that. My father was actually construction background and was a superintendent for a developer here in D.C. on that. Fun fact, the National Association of Realtors headquarters down in D.C. on New Jersey and First, big glass sailboat-looking building we built, or we were some of the people that built that building,
Wow,
I should
that's
say.
exciting.
On there. Yep, that's kind of our biggest landmark big project that we were on for that. So he ended up retiring there. We continued on. When he retired from that company, we started renovating, completely renovating homes, more local, because he, of course, was tired of the commute as well on there. But then the 2008 market crash happened. We kind of stalled out. I went back to school, chose a liberal arts degree, we'll say. So my degree is in sociology on that, and
Wow. Okay, that's a complete 180.
So yes, indeed. Oh, I was going to change the world on there, but quickly found out that I need my master's to make $32,000 a year, and that put the brakes on that avenue there. So as our renovating projects got essentially put on hold by the market crash, and schooling was a great experience, and I'm glad I got the education and all that, but wasn't going to make me rich on there. Went back to the restaurant industry again, just due to the love of it. And, to all of our servers out there, it can be great. I mean, I was working at a restaurant making $100,000 a year on there.
You can.
Not to brag, but I'm just saying it can still be a very good income.
Right.
On there. And ran into a gentleman that I knew. He had been a regular of mine at various institutions, and he saw me and called me over and said, "Hey, Richard, do you have any construction background?" Well, yes, I do. Blah, blah, blah. I said, "Oh, well, you know what I do, right?" I said, "I wait on hundreds of people a year. I can't remember what everybody does." "Well, I'm a home inspector." Well, I actually took this as a God moment because after I didn't mention my father passed in 2015 from sickness, and we had wrapped up the renovating stuff. I took care of a few loose ends after that, but I wasn't going to try and continue that company. So, but I've been thinking about getting a home inspection. So that interaction I took as just a God moment of, yes, this is the direction you're supposed to go. So excited. I ran a red light camera coming home from work that night in a normally busy intersection in Frederick. There was a ghost town that night.
Yeah,
I saw that flash as soon.
So this was in Frederick.
Yes,
and you were working at, where were you working at?
I was working at Avery's Maryland Grill. So
I know Avery's.
It's a great crab house.
I remember that.
I do recommend it. It is still open.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
They have reduced their.
They're at the bottom of 40, right?
They're on 144 across from Spring Ridge. It used to be where Jug Bridge used to be. And it's now Avery's Maryland Grill.
Okay, yeah.
Still recommend that place if you're a crab fan, you like picking crabs and stuff. So actually,
if you're in Maryland,
the steamed shrimp.
Yeah.
The steamed shrimp were actually one of my favorites. So huge, always done well. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
That's awesome.
But I took that as my God moment. So excited, been thinking about it. I actually left that job, signed up for the first home inspection class because Maryland requires 72 hours of classroom education time.
Okay.
On that, and went at it.
You went at it.
So I jumped in with 2 feet.
Wow. It's kind of crazy because we have a very similar background because my experience was in restaurants as well, as you know.
We know.
So, and my experience getting into real estate
seafood too.
Was seafood, exactly. Yes, it was seafood. It was Red Lobster.
I was there with you.
Which maybe. but yeah. So like, but it was a matter of my old manager who had left. So at this point, I was a manager for Red Lobster, and the manager before me had left, and he had gone on, and he had done a couple things, and we kind of lost track of each other. And he came back into the restaurant one night with his family, and he came back in, and he was like, "You're still here?" Because it was like 8 years, like 8-9 years or so. I was like, "Yeah, I'm still here. And he was like, "You think you might want to do something different?" And he was like, and he at the time was working for a builder, and that's when he introduced me to the builder, to the management company of the builder, and just from that point, I just was like, I'm on board because this is a Monday through Friday schedule. This is, it was like everything that is anti-restaurant. Right. It's like your standard schedule, everything that you, as a restaurant worker, you want. Right. Ideally.
Standard schedule, but still have flexibility.
Right.
Hey, anybody cover my shift tonight?
Right.
I got a party I want to go to.
Exactly.
And if you're at the restaurant, I'll come in and make $300. No shortage takers.
Not that this is about me, so this is about you. So okay, so this is
it's about us, Chad.
So okay, but you get through the training courses, and at that point, are you officially a licensed inspector? Like, how does that work?
So not quite. So you take the classroom requirements, and that varies state by state. Maryland's 72 hours. West Virginia requires 80. Other states have different, hours of education requirements. I think I've heard up to 150 hours in some states, etc. But once you get the education, then you need to go for your licensing. It's a requirement of taking a national home inspector exam in this case. For that, passing that, to show that you have the knowledge and qualifications to do the job on there, and then you file with the state you're wanting to work in, if it's a requirement in that state, to do the for your license, your home inspection license on that, and then you are good to operate. Again, depending on the state, I currently am working for another great multi-state, multi-inspector firm as well. We're throughout the United States, but if you were looking to go out on your own after getting your license and stuff, you still need your business license and your insurances and all that kind of stuff. So, I was able to get hired by a company that, has all that infrastructure and support in place in there, so I didn't have to worry about it. I get a little bit more of just go do the inspection.
Here's what it is. Go do it.
So, absolutely.
Okay. All right. And that's with U.S. Inspect?
This is with U.S. Inspect, yeah.
Okay.
So very appreciative of the opportunity. I got my license right before COVID hit on there, so that, through a horseshoe and things did delay my start with a little bit. I was actually hired, and then COVID became a big thing. There was a little bit of talk beforehand, but then it became official on that. So I did have a little bit of time in the on the back burner before I got released. But everybody was trying to figure out what was going on.
Sure, of course. At that point, nobody knew what was going to happen, especially with the real estate industry.
Yeah, and COVID could have been a completely different thing. It could have been the Black Plague.
It really could have changed things. I mean, granted, if anything, it ignited the market because of the interest rates, because of what happened with pricing and things of that nature. But obviously it could have gone a lot worse.
Yes.
And so, but so now you're here.
Now I am here. I've been doing this for over 4 years now.
Yeah.
I have well over 1,000 inspections under my belt. It's been a while since I looked at the square footage number of homes. Last time I looked, it was
the square footage you told me about you did just yesterday.
Yes. So yesterday was...
I mean, this is like off topic, but like, but we were just talking about your day yesterday, and you had what was the square footage that you did?
It was just yesterday. I inspected around 15,000 square feet.
That's insane.
Of homes. Yes. So that was a long day. I was finishing reports until I couldn't last night, and polished off the rest of it this morning.
There you go. All right. Well, but that's a good thing, though. I mean, it's a good thing.
It is, and that's one of the things with the industry. It is feast or famine. There, as the real estate industry is. With home inspections, everybody needs an inspection yesterday, typically. On there, and so it's always short notice, and we would like it now. So, thank you, Amazon Prime.
So let's get into a little bit about what we want to talk about today, which is we talked earlier, and I kind of thought this was a good topic, but basically like the concerns that buyers have when it comes to what they're buying, right? So when you buy a house, you have concerns about the home that you're going to be buying, and typically those concerns maybe aren't necessarily what the home inspection is all about.
Yes, I've run into this a lot. Actually, just this past week, I ran into this. So, and I'm gonna throw out there on the internet. Google, just because they're the biggest search engine on there. Even HUD, the housing. I'm forgetting what those letters stand for now, but the housing industry for the government and stuff. For example, still has on their website that a home inspection should be $350 to $500. This is now a very low end inspection on there. Especially with the current age of inflation. I still have to buy groceries for my family. Mm-hmm. I still have to put gas in my car. I still have insurances to pay for. All of these expenses, it costs me $125 just to wake up.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as business expenses and that sort of thing. So with everything else going up in price, of course, the inspection price has to go up a little bit. We're trying to run a business here. So, not a charity, on that. But what we do to help justify the higher rates is add value. On that. So, and this is a little bit more where my perspective of property consulting over a home inspection does come in. On that. So, helping make recommendations that is going to make this home work better for you, potentially an occupant, over just the real estate transaction concerns on that. If people were to actually take the time, clients, buyers of homes, and read the standards of practice for home inspection, it's actually very limited.
It's basic.
It is basic. That's a very good word.
Basic.
If I wanted to, I could walk in with a screwdriver and a flashlight, and those are the only tools I would need to do a home inspection if I was sticking by strictly to the standards of practice set forth by the state and the local governments on that. However, people that are interested in doing a better job, that want to be more of a property consultant, we're going to respond more to standards of care on that. So as an example, differences of standards of practice versus standards of care, appliances in a kitchen are not any appliances in a home are not within the standards of practice. They do not have to be checked and inspected by a home inspector. However, they do fall in the standards of care on there. So I am going to make sure the stove works, the oven turns on, microwave, and that sort of thing. And that requires some additional tools. I have a tester for a microwave to make sure it's working. Right, and that sort of thing.
So is that where, let's say, the age of the appliance comes into a factor too, or
it can with U.S. Inspect. We don't go into dating or saying how old the and appliances are. We do try to provide as much assistance to that. If there's an accessible data tag, we do add a photo of that to the report. So if the client would like to take the time to look up the manufacturer's website and find out what the age is and stuff, I think that the reason that we don't add that age of that as U.S. Inspect, that's going to take some extra time, which means we would have to increase the price for that. And it's just decided that most clients would rather not pay for that part of the service.
Would you say if it works, it works?
Yes. And that is the thing with home. That is the basics of home inspection. Is it working today? Does the air conditioner come on? Is there cold air coming out? Does the furnace come on? Is there hot air coming out? Does the window open? And all that. However, with the standards of care, we're going extra steps on that. So, is the air conditioner cooling in a range that is set forth as an accepted, common, proper operating temperature range on that? So, I don't want to get into the more nerdy science stuff of it during our podcast, but
that's okay.
Between the return air temperature, so where the air goes back into the system to be conditioned, either heated or cooled, cooling in this case, and where it comes out, the supply, we generally look for a 14 to 22 degree temperature differential. So when it comes out, it should be 14 or to 22 degrees colder than where it comes in. That gives us a normal operating range on that.
So these are the basics, right? So, but when it comes to what the buyers are actually concerned about, that's not what I mean. Again, kind of going back to, does it work? Right. As long as it works, okay, that's great. Because otherwise, here's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about mold. I'm concerned about, are there any bugs or rodents, or is there critters in this house? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to know about. Like, what do you say to, as a property consultant, like, how does that fall into your inspection?
Well, that is a great question, and I hear that, those concerns quite frequently, especially the mold on that. However, those are items that are also not in the standards of practice.
So they're not like part of your typical inspection.
That is correct.
Okay.
On there. And actually, the standards of practice, in some of these cases say that we are not responsible for identifying these issues as a home inspection. However, the home inspection industry, and I think some of your previous guests have said, it's relatively new. We're 40, coming up on 50 years of existence as an industry. On that. So we're coming into our adolescence there. So we are, of course, trying to grow and improve our services for that. So a lot of companies do offer these type of services. However, they are additional services on there. So because we do require extra training, extra certification, and for some cases, extra insurances to have that. So and it's think largely it's the training requirement to be an authority on that. You have to know what it is you're looking for, even if it's just termites, carpenter ants, carpenter bees. Everybody calls it a termite inspection, and it's actually a wood destroying insect inspection on there.
The
so
wood destroying insect.
There's more than we're looking for than just termites and stuff. So that means that a lot of my, we call it the driveway speech on there. So when I'm usually already there at the inspection. I try and have the exterior inspection completed by the time the realtor and the client show up on there. One, it helps shorten the time they feel they're on site for that. Two, it lets me have my ladders put back away so I don't get dad saying, "Oh, let me come up there and take a look." Because I have had that as well. I'm like, "Did you bring your own ladder?" Sorry. On that. So we offer those services, but back to, during the driveway speech, it can often unfortunately start the inspection off on a slightly negative note, because I will ask, I presume you've been through the home. What are your big concerns? Did you notice anything that jumps out at you on this? And a lot of times, I want to know if there's any mold issues. Water intrusion is a part of a home inspection.
Sure.
We're going to be looking for that. But water issues, rodents, I want to know about that. And again, these are all things that are not part of the standard home inspection.
Yeah.
So
then do you have to say then, then we have to have this separate inspection then? As like an upsell, or is this like a conversation that you have? Like, how does that work?
It makes it difficult for me, because I do not like to be there as a property consultant.
Because you don't have initial call. You don't have initial call. You just kind of show up and then you meet the folks as you.
Most of the time. There are instances where, things, various situations. I know I'm dealing with an overseas client or out of area client on there. So I want to be able to, based on their time zone, have a conversation with them. So, pardon me, I will reach out.
Well, for the most part, though, you're meeting them for the first time.
At the site.
Yes. Okay.
I would like to be better with that personally, of reaching out to them ahead of time. But they don't. None of us. I don't recognize this number. I'm not picking it up.
Right.
Type of thing. So sometimes the contact's difficult. But that's it. So I ask them what their concerns are with the house on that. Sometimes I get the Google list, and we can. as home inspectors, we always know when they Google what questions to ask your home inspector on there. So, do I have lead pipes on there? Well, it's a brand new house, so no, you don't. I haven't even been inside yet, but on that. So we can definitely tell that. That's fine. And, I address it properly.
Sure.
There. Yeah. So smiling to myself and just go ahead and answer their questions for that. But then we do get the ones that are concerned about the mold and this and that. So while they're bringing that to my attention, I then have to break the news to them that, well, you did not order those services, or your realtor did not order those services for you. Yeah. So we're not specifically looking for those. Now, I want to be able to stand at the pearly gates and have a clear conscience on there. So I will tell them, if I see indications of things, I'm going to report damage on there, but it's going to be very limited as to what I tell you, and say, we may need to look into this further. We do offer those services through US Inspect, or you certainly can choose another company on that if you so choose in that. But it is an additional service that we offer. Termites a big one. So no, I'm not going to report on termites if you didn't order a termite report. I will report on damage to the structure, but I'm not going to use the word termite and wood destroying insect.
Right, because you don't.
On there.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Because I have to carry other insurance.
Yeah.
Or US Inspect has to carry other insurance to cover that terminology.
Well, so you brought up the realtor, right? So how does this? Because usually when somebody orders an inspection, is it ordered through the realtor or is it ordered through the actual buyer?
This is actually very regionally dependent throughout the area, United States. Okay. In our area here, it is most common that the realtor takes care of it.
So the realtor orders it, right?
Yes, because they want to make sure they have a contingency period typically, or they have a certain amount of time. So they're offering it as a part of their service to their client as well. I'm going to take care of it and stuff.
We're going to
on one side
order it.
On the other side, right? They're going to order it. The client still does pay for it. I'm on that. I have had realtors pay for some of them. These are usually higher end deals to where it's wrapped in on there. Nothing's free. If it's free, they're trying to sell you something on there. But they also want to make sure that it gets taken care of in the time period, because I'll tell you what.
Okay.
If they leave it up to the client and their contingency period ends on Friday and it's Thursday, being able to find somebody to get out there the next morning may be a little difficult, depending on the current state of the market.
Especially, again, where you're probably going to pick up a call from a realtor, but from a random phone number.
I pick up all my phone calls.
Well, I mean, just okay. So, all right, but I'm just saying, like in general, though. Like, let's say, you may not, if you don't recognize the phone number, if you know a realtor, you're going to pick it up versus
if a name comes across my phone versus just a number and an area. Yes, definitely.
So does the realtor then have any kind of how does the realtor then fall into? I almost feel there's a certain responsibility on the realtor then to make sure that I'm worried about mold in my house. I'm worried about these things that aren't going to be checked on a typical home inspection.
Right.
Does the realtor then have a responsibility, or how does that work? Because or is it just, this is just how it is, and it's just a process, and people just have to deal with it?
Well, again, great question on that. Specifically for your question, I think, and the advantage realtors have is they get to spend hours getting to know the clients.
Right.
I have 5 minutes to meet them, introduce myself, try to instill some confidence in me to them on there and get to know them a little bit as well, so I can address. One of the inspections I did yesterday, I knew there were some mobility challenges coming into the home due to age on that. So for that purpose, I'm specifically looking at things that may affect that for people such as ourselves that don't have that, changes in height and that sort of thing on that. I also usually ask about, and I call them small humans on there. So, the PC world, can we call them children anymore? I'm not sure. But on that. So, do you have any small humans? Because there are some concerns when we're responsible for small lives. May be an issue that people our ages, I hope you're not going to try and stick your head through a railing on a stairway, Chad. But who knows? It's Friday night. It might have. But but when we have children that may be able to fall through a guardrail or something like that, it's a concern. So I try and get to know the clients with a couple of those key questions so I can best serve them. On that. But back to the responsibility of the inspections, the realtors have the opportunity to have the conversation with the clients, conversations, I should say, with the clients, and find out what their needs are. Most often, I think when I do air quality or mold assessments on that, most of the time it is for people that know they have a sensitivity or known health issues for that. Other than that, and
that's booked typically through the realtor. The realtor has said like what the client realizes. This
the client has let the realtor know that I have mold sensitivity or health issues, or sometimes it's just like we know there was a water event, flooding in this home or something. So we want to make sure that we're good with the air quality on that. But this goes into the due diligence of doing a home inspection, or scratch that, your due diligence period for the home that you're looking to purchase on there. So I don't want to get into the whole market and realtor aspect too much, but I think the level of due diligence that is conducted these days is very minor on that. And it is the state of the real estate market is used as the justification for that. I can't put a contingency on this home for this because we won't win it. And we won't win the house or that sort of thing. So there are some states that are have introduced, I'm not aware of any that it has actually come into law yet, but are trying to introduce that a home inspection as an option cannot be written out of a contract. On there. So this is not making a home inspection a requirement there, because I don't agree with that. I do not think home inspections should be a requirement. I think it will commoditize the industry, and it will the quality of home inspections will quickly drop as the race to the bottom occurs, because you have to have it. So I'm going to do one for $150, but I'm only going to walk through with a flashlight and a screwdriver.
Your basics
on that. So I don't have to get on a ladder. Standards of practice, say that I don't have to go into the crawl space, and anywhere I don't feel safe, I don't have to go into. Well, what is that? Again, that's a feeling. I don't feel safe. Opening the closet door, so I didn't inspect it, type of thing. So it's a race to the bottom. I don't want home inspections to be a requirement, but I do think that it makes a lot of sense to say, no, you are, especially with the price of your real estate these days, continuing to go up, and it doesn't look like that's going to turn around anytime soon. One of your previous guests, as I was researching the podcast and listening to your podcast, said, 10 million, correct me if you remember correctly, said something to the effect of 10 million new homes, but 17 million new families on there. So 7 million home gap. There's a big
We're
not going to catch up on that anytime soon. On that. So, but the due diligence, yes, we consider the home inspection, but that is just the basic level on that, okay? There are things. If you have a well or septic on the property system, definitely should have those inspected on there. Consider a sewer scope on there too, because I don't have x-ray vision. I put my x-ray glasses in the shop years ago. They still haven't gotten them fixed on there. So I can't see 6-8 feet into the ground to know what the main sewer line from your house to the street looks like, what condition it is. I'm running water, but if it's not backing up into the sink, to me it appears acceptable. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of roots that have infiltrated, and the next teenage boy now makes the draining a issue on there. So, or even little kids, Barbie doll heads and Matchbox cars going down the toilet on there. So, things like that. So, and then there's other air quality and home, general concerns, radon. On that, your termite, and all these extra water quality services.
So there's due diligence, right? That you say. So there's fiduciary responsibility too, to that certain extent, where you can place a value on the amount that you spend upfront versus what could actually happen.
Right.
And we talked about this a little bit before.
We did.
Yeah. So talk about that for a little bit, and then that'll be, because I think that will kind of wrap things for us, because I feel like that is like the ultimate, like, if you are concerned about things, right?
Absolutely.
Then
you should know. You should find out.
Get them done. Just
Absolutely.
Get it done. And be done, and you'll have a peace of mind at the same time.
That is correct. So half a step back to the due diligence again.
Okay. All right.
Should all these different inspection types on this, but this is tying into so you brought up fiduciary responsibility. So who in the process is saying they have fiduciary responsibility? So the real estate transaction, we have our loan officers, we have the insurance, we have the agents, listing and buyer's agents, we have the home inspectors. All these people are on the buyer's team on that. And believe me, we're all on the same team. We want the same thing, a happy client. In the end. Yeah. Nobody wants you to buy a new home, move into it, and 2 months later you're running into problems and having issues. We're all trying to make a happy you on that. So success stories on there. But out of those people, off the top of your head, Chad, who is actually tasked with fiduciary responsibility in the process?
I would say, fiduciary responsibility to me, it would be somebody like myself.
Okay.
Because we have a responsibility
as a loan
officer, and then the realtor. To a certain extent. Yeah.
And the realtor.
Yeah.
Yes. So you say loan officers as do. But that is mostly to make sure.
That's mostly about
you are
making
sure
we get them the best terms, that we get them the best. That we have a responsibility to look out for our folks.
Okay. Great.
And not just throw them into some program that. Purchase, right. and then from there, then take them down that path and put them in the right product, versus just saying oh, well, you have this score, and you have this amount of money, then you belong in this type of program,
right?
And just be done. There's a lot more to it than that.
And of course there is. There's always a lot more to it.
Yeah.
So, and that's great. You want to make sure that they're not getting into, the 2008 where, all of a sudden now people have these inflated payments and can no longer afford their houses.
Right.
On there because they got sold a bad product.
Right.
On there. So, that is excellent that the loan officers, but the realtors are tasked with fiduciary responsibility. And I would love to have a roundtable discussion with some realtors about that. Let me put that on my list.
Put that on your to-do list.
My to-do list, right. Roundtable with realtors about...
There you go. Your next meeting. That's great.
Fiduciary responsibility. And I do want to take their continuing education class or whatnot on this, just so I am better educated on the education that they receive for this. But my impression, my uninformed impression right now, it seems to be you spending as the buyer as little money as possible. On there.
Okay.
However, I think that's a little bit of a contradictory fact on that. Let's go back to some of the inspection types. You're looking at a 70-year-old home, and hey, we're on the East Coast. We're a very historic area. There are some very old homes. My oldest inspection was 1790. The structure.
Wow.
On that. Yes, that was exciting. But so our material types have changed over time, etc. So sewer lines on a older home, 50, 70 years old, probably going to be cast iron. Cast iron is great. It lasts a long time. It does not last forever, though. If we have mature trees on the property there, so we have some danger of the roots looking for water. And thus, if there is a crack, infiltrating the sewer lines. So, you may explore some products like a sewer scope, where a qualified scoper, a plumber, will come out, do a camera inspection of that.
Okay.
Yes, that's going to cost you my estimate, $350 to $500 to have that service done. But then if you have an issue or not, because before you buy the home. Because if that does have a problem, it can be $15,000 to have fixed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be an old home. I did an inspection in Hagerstown. It was a 2-year-old house. Okay. I go in, it was an occupied home, so people were living there, so fixtures were being used. I ran water during my inspection as well, ran dishwasher, washing machine. The plumbing backs up into the lower bathroom on that. 2-year-old house did have cracked PVC piping on there that had allowed some of the clay dirt to leak in and eventually block the pipe on there. Now he has an $8,000 fix on a 2-year-old house, where a sewer scope would have identified that and they could have negotiated it.
Yeah.
So, this is why I question how we educate about fiduciary interest a little bit. That not necessarily, not spending your money today is how I'm best serving you.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
That $400 inspection could have saved that client area on that. That test is going to range you anywhere from, you might find $100 guy out there, up to 300, ranging on the companies and whatnot. But, knowing if you have radon in your home, because radon can be very localized. They have done studies to where one house was fine, the neighbor was really high. It all depends where the cracks are in the earth for it to come up. So we'll just use a median number of, $150, $200 to have that test done. If you have an issue or not. Or you say, we probably don't. And then you end up with lung cancer. Yeah. What's the better spending of your money?
So it comes down to, not just that, but it comes down to peace of mind. I think at the end of the day, you put a lot of money into like closing costs, right? And a lot of the closing costs go into like, paying for the lender, the title, the transfer taxes, and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that you pay for is title insurance. And one of the things that title insurance is just peace of mind. That's literally it's like $1,200 that you're paying, or whatever it may be for whatever house, but you're paying it, and it's for peace of mind because you rarely ever use it,
Right.
Where something like what you're suggesting is get this inspection done up front. You'll have peace of mind that you don't have radon, you don't have any issues with your plumbing, you don't have any issues with termites or bug destroying animals or whatever insects. You know what I mean? But like, it's like it's done for peace of mind, and then you put that money up front, and then you can just get into your house and feel good about
comfortable.
And good about being about your purchase too.
Sleep I mean, just
there's a thing too about just being happy about and feeling good about what you just purchased.
Absolutely.
And then of course, what would happen if you do come across something like that?
So, something like which one? There's a lot
Any
of different
of them.
situations.
Termites, let's say.
So
you come across termites.
Termites. An unfortunate thing. Home inspections inspectors are kept at arm's length. We are considered the generalists.
Okay.
On there, even though. And again, home inspectors, I prefer property consultants. The amount of education to myself that I do so I can better serve on there. Maryland, you have to do, I believe, about 35 continuing education credits every 2 years when you renew your license.
All right.
Just with one source, I did 77 continuing education credits last year. Just last year, not the 2 year, 1 year.
Wow.
And that was just one of my education outlets on that. It is because I'm looking to serve. The more I can help and inform you, I consider myself to be an educator on that. And a lot of this I actually kind of put on the .com boom.
Yeah.
We fathers came out of the garages and went into the office. Grandfathers were retiring, so there was nobody tinkering around in the garage anymore to teach kids things. And then we had the STEM push, and all that. So college education. So we have, and this is part of the reason for a contributing factor to the housing shortage of we don't have the tradespeople to be building these homes on a faster scale on there. So I do have that construction background and continue to educate myself because the construction industry continues to change with new products, new practices, and that sort of thing. So as property consultants, we are having to continue to educate ourselves. Some of the podcasts I listen to are actually builder podcasts, so I can stay abreast of what's happening
what's new
in the building industry.
Yeah.
As far as their best practices and stuff. So
that's great.
I know how to tell somebody what we're looking at when they ask questions on there, and know how to educate a person to, hey, I'm not calling this a defect, but this is a little bit of a tweak, and this is where the property consulting comes in, that you can make to your house to make it work better for you. Just as a quick example of that, bathroom exhaust fans. A small upgrade I recommend is go ahead and change that fan switch to a timer switch. Water stains down your wall.
Letting the air out of the house. Isn't there something to do with, or am I just totally thinking of something different?
No, I think what you're thinking about is actually a fresh air intake. Because new construction now, we are building the houses tighter, more sealed up, so they're not as leaky with the air. So what they found was people were getting headaches, feeling tired all the time because they were breathing stale air.
Okay. Yeah, that's
on
what
that. And we are building them tighter for energy efficiency on that. We keep the conditioned air, heating or cooling in the house. We're spending less to do that activity on there. So, but because we started building them so tight, well, now we have to add another addition onto the HVAC system, and most of them run 7 to 9 minutes an hour. They will open up and bring fresh air into the house. So we are getting that air change. So I think that's what you were.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking about
talking about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, Richard. Well, so I appreciate you coming by today. So I think I really got a lot out of what we talked about, which is basically a lot of the concerns that home buyers have aren't necessarily even part of the typical home inspection.
Correct.
Right. So, and if they wanted to, those concerns, they're obviously available. You can help them out and
call the company, ask what it covers. If you have specific concerns about what we call ancillary services, so the mold, the termite inspections, etc., ask about that. And it's like, no, we offer that. It's not part of the home inspection, but we offer that service. We can get that taken care of for you.
Okay.
I'm on there. But it may be difficult to show up to the inspection and say, oh, well, we want this. And your inspector, I'm usually always prepared. I bring all my gear with me, but if you choose someone else, you might have an inspector that doesn't have that set of equipment. Responsibility ultimately comes down to the client. It's your money. You need to be responsible for it. Yeah. It is good to have others that say they're looking out for it, but you're the one making the decisions of how your money is used, what spending some money now may offset in the future. Yeah. So,
which again comes down to peace of mind.
Yes.
It comes down to peace of mind. Your fiduciary responsibility comes down to whatever your peace of mind is. If you need peace of mind that your home doesn't have radon, then get a radon test. Yep. If you need peace of mind that your home doesn't have any wood destroying insects, anything of that nature, then
do it.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. And do it at the time while the home inspection is being done, because it's usually cheaper, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you tack it on during that time versus a separate inspection.
I tell people all the time when, we're starting to see a list of, either deferred maintenance items that need to be addressed or just repaired. Like, it's the door knock that costs you the most money. Once they're here, get everything that they're capable of taking care of that's within their realm, have them do that. So, because they're going to charge you for an hour for any portion of that hour. So if you're only calling them for a 15-minute job, they're charging you for an hour. Well, try and have enough stuff that's going to fill that hour on that.
Good to know. Good to know.
Don't make a bunch of different phone calls.
Good to know. All right, Richard. Well, I really appreciate you coming by today.
I loved being here today.
Yeah, good. So. Well, I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came by. We'll definitely have to have you back for sure. Let's do a quick cheers.
All right,
I have a little bit of seltzer left here.
So there you go. Our water today.
Our water, exactly.
It's hot. Yep. Stay hydrated, folks.
Exactly.
Very important.
Yeah. So, and again, to our folks that are listening, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.
Stay safe.